The fall of Orion 7 sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had always believed war was fought with fleets, firepower, and numbers. But humanity fought differently. They didn't just attack the body. They attacked the mind. The Council's species had lived in peace for centuries. They followed strict battle codes, fought clean wars with clear rules. But humans fought to destroy. The Council's remaining generals gathered in a war chamber, their faces pale with fear. Reports flooded in from every sector. Bases vanished overnight. Entire fleets lost without explanation, and their soldiers refused to fight. "They are demons," whispered General Xorak of the Varan Empire, his reptilian scales twitching. "They do not fight with honor. They strike from the shadows. They kill without hesitation. Our warriors are afraid." Fear was spreading, and that was exactly what General Elias Kane wanted. Terror in the stars. Kane understood something the Council did not. War was not just about battles. It was about breaking the enemy's spirit. So humanity played a different game. They let captured alien officers return home, but not before showing them the horrors of human warfare. One alien captain, a Xalarian named Vorthek, was released after months in captivity. When he returned to his homeworld, he was shaking. "They do not sleep," he whispered to his leaders. "Even when wounded, they keep fighting. I saw a soldier lose his arm. He did not scream. He did not stop. He just kept killing." Another alien soldier, blinded in battle, told his commanders, "They do not fear death. They laugh as they fight. They enjoy war." Rumors spread faster than the truth. Stories of human warriors who never died, who killed without mercy, who destroyed entire worlds just to make a point. The Council's soldiers began to hesitate before battle. Some refused to leave their ships. Others abandoned their posts. The Ghost Fleet. To make things worse, humanity unleashed the Ghost Fleet, a squadron of stealth warships designed to appear and disappear without warning. These ships infiltrated enemy space, broadcasting eerie, distorted human voices over communication channels. One alien pilot received a message moments before his ship exploded. "Run. We are coming." Entire fleets surrendered without a single shot fired. They would rather flee than face the humans. The breaking point. High Chancellor Tarek, leader of the Galactic Council, clenched his claws as he watched his empire crumble. "This is not possible," he hissed. "They are just one species. How can they break us so easily?" But deep inside, he knew the answer. The humans did not just want to win. They wanted the Council to suffer. And worst of all, it was working. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Their fleets were stranded, their supply lines were in ruins, and their command centers were under constant attack. The humans, whom they had once dismissed as primitive, had become their worst nightmare. And at the center of this nightmare stood one man, General Elias Kane, the warrior the Council would come to fear as the Butcher of Orion. Kane had been a soldier long before the war. He had fought in Earth's last great conflicts, surviving battles that had broken lesser men. He knew how to win wars, not with numbers, but with brutality and precision. Now, he was leading humanity's counterattack. The target was Orion 7, one of the Council's largest military bases. It was a fortress, surrounded by asteroid defenses and guarded by a fleet of warships. No enemy had ever dared to attack it. The Council believed it was untouchable. They were wrong. Under the cover of darkness, Kane's fleet arrived. They didn't charge in like fools. They came like ghosts. Human stealth ships, equipped with cloaking technology, slipped past the outer defenses. Kane watched from his command ship, his eyes cold as ice. "Begin the assault," he ordered. Orbital strike teams dropped onto the base, cutting through security forces like blades through flesh. Explosions erupted as human saboteurs destroyed power grids and shield generators. The Council's soldiers, trained in traditional warfare, were overwhelmed by the raw aggression of human fighters. In the heart of the base, High Marshal Vork, the alien commander of Orion 7, panicked. "Who are these demons?" he roared as his forces were slaughtered. "How do they fight like this?" His answer came when General Kane himself led the final assault. Clad in advanced battle armor, Kane was a terrifying sight. His soldiers followed him like avenging angels, their rifles spitting fire. In the chaos, Kane reached the Council's command center and locked eyes with Vork. "No mercy," Kane said, raising his weapon. The battle was over within hours. Orion 7, the Council's great fortress, had fallen. The remaining aliens tried to surrender, but Kane did not believe in mercy. He ordered complete destruction. No survivors, no prisoners. The Council had come to enslave humanity, and now humanity had come to erase them. When news of Orion 7's fall reached the Council, silence filled the Grand Chamber. For the first time in history, an entire sector had been lost to an enemy. And worse, they now had a name to fear. General Elias Kane, the Butcher of Orion. The war was no longer about conquest. Now, it was about survival. And the Council finally understood the truth. They were not hunting humanity. Humanity was hunting them. The Galactic Council's homeworld, Tarkus V, had never been attacked in its long history. It was the heart of the galaxy's greatest empire, a world covered in towering cities, grand palaces, and impenetrable fortresses. The Council's leaders had always believed it was untouchable. Now, as humanity's war fleet arrived, they realized how wrong they had been. The last line of defense. The Council had gathered what remained of their broken armada. Thousands of ships formed a desperate defensive wall around Tarkus V. Their fleets were battered, their forces exhausted. But they had no choice. If they lost this battle, their entire civilization would fall. Inside the Council's Grand Chamber, High Chancellor Tarek stood before a holographic display. His clawed hands trembled as he watched the human fleet approach. "They won't stop," whispered an advisor. "They don't want peace. They want us gone." Tarek already knew this. The war was no longer about conquest. It was about revenge. And humanity would not rest until they had erased the Council from existence. The storm begins. The first human dreadnoughts appeared from hyperspace, their dark hulls gliding toward the Council's defenses. Tarkus V's orbital stations opened fire, unleashing massive plasma beams and missile barrages. But the humans did not slow down. Their warships pushed forward, weapons blazing, cutting through the Council's fleet like a blade through flesh. Explosions filled space as enemy ships were torn apart. The once proud fleets of the Council, ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries, were now nothing more than burning wreckage. Then came the ground invasion. Thousands of dropships descended upon Tarkus V, carrying humanity's deadliest warriors. Elite soldiers, armed with the most advanced weapons, stormed the Council's cities. Resistance forces tried to fight back, but they were no match for humanity's brutal, efficient tactics. This was not war. This was extermination. The end of the Council. Inside the Council's palace, High Chancellor Tarek and the remaining leaders locked the doors. They could hear the sounds of battle outside, the screams of their people, the roar of human weapons, the marching of boots on stone floors. Then silence. The doors burst open. General Elias Kane walked inside, his battle armor covered in the blood of the fallen. His cold eyes scanned the room. He saw fear. Tarek stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Please, we surrender." Kane stared at him. Then, without a word, he raised his weapon. One shot, one leader dead. The rest of the Council tried to run, but there was no escape. Kane and his soldiers ended them all. The war is over. Tarkus V burned. The Galactic Council, the rulers of the stars, were no more. And as Kane stood among the ruins, he spoke the final words of the war. The galaxy belongs to humanity now. The destruction of the Titan fleet was the final proof. Humanity could not be stopped. The greatest armada in the galaxy had been reduced to nothing but fire and wreckage. The Galactic Council had lost their strongest weapon, and now they had no way to stop what was coming next. The human counterattack. No mercy, no surrender. On Earth, General Elias Kane stood in the War Command Center, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers showed every remaining Galactic Council stronghold. They were scattered, weakened, and vulnerable. Kane knew exactly what to do. "It's time," he said coldly. "We take the war to them." Within days, the largest human war fleet ever assembled launched into space. These were not ordinary warships. They were designed for one purpose only: total annihilation. The first target was Selarath Prime, the homeworld of the Xelarians, one of the leading council species. The planet had been a symbol of power for centuries, protected by defense stations and planetary shields. The Xelarians believed no one would ever dare attack their home. They were wrong. Humanity did not come to negotiate. They did not come to offer peace. They came like a storm of fire. Thousands of human warships descended upon Selarath Prime, their weapons unleashing destruction across the skies. Orbital bombardments turned entire cities into craters. Defense stations crumbled under relentless missile barrages. Xelarian leaders begged for mercy, sending desperate messages to the human fleet. No reply came. Instead, human ground forces landed in the ruins of their cities. These were not just soldiers, they were executioners. They hunted down what remained of the Xelarian leadership and erased them from existence. When the battle was over, Selarath Prime was no longer a capital world. It was a graveyard. The Council's fear becomes reality. Word of Selarath Prime's destruction spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, entire species trembled in fear. The Galactic Council's leaders gathered once again. But this time, they no longer spoke of victory. They spoke of survival. "This is not war anymore," whispered High Chancellor Tarek. His once proud voice was now filled with dread. "This is extinction." Some species surrendered immediately, hoping to escape humanity's wrath. Others fled into deep space, abandoning their homeworlds in terror. But Kane had one final target: the Galactic Council's homeworld, Tarkus V. It was the heart of their empire, the place where every decision was made. If humanity took it, the war would be over. Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the distant star where Tarkus V waited. His voice was calm, merciless. "Set course," he ordered. "This ends now." As the human fleet jumped into hyperspace, the galaxy held its breath. The final battle was coming, and nothing would stop humanity's unstoppable march. The Galactic Council was desperate. Their forces were retreating, their soldiers were terrified, and their fleets were crumbling. Every attempt to fight back had ended in disaster. The humans did not fight like any enemy before. They did not just conquer, they erased. In a last effort to turn the tide, the Council gathered what remained of their greatest warships, the Titan fleet. This armada, composed of the largest and most powerful dreadnoughts in the galaxy, had crushed entire civilizations in the past. It was a symbol of fear, a fleet so massive that no species had ever stood against it and survived. High Commander Zalrex, who had barely escaped the massacre at Mars, was given one final chance. He stood aboard the command deck of the Dominator, the flagship of the Titan fleet, and addressed his officers. "We have allowed fear to control us," Zalrex growled. "No more. We are the masters of this galaxy. We will remind these humans why they should have surrendered." The plan was simple: use the Titan fleet's overwhelming firepower to destroy Earth's main defenses in a single decisive battle. Without their homeworld, humanity would be crippled. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading straight for Sol system. But the humans were waiting. The trap closes. As soon as the Titan fleet entered the system, alarms blared across every ship. Something was wrong. "There are no enemy ships," an officer reported. "Earth's orbital defenses are offline." Zalrex narrowed his eyes. It was too easy, too quiet. Then, The first explosion hit. A Titan-class battleship, the Sovereign, erupted into flames as dozens of hidden torpedoes struck its engines. Before the Council fleet could react, thousands of small human fighter craft appeared from behind Jupiter's moon, Io, launching a devastating surprise attack. The Titan fleet's ships were massive, powerful, but they were slow. Human pilots weaved through their defenses, dodging plasma fire and unleashing a storm of missiles. One by one, the mighty warships began to fall. Zalrex watched in horror as his dreadnoughts, ships that had once dominated the stars, were picked apart like helpless prey. He had underestimated them once before. He had promised himself never to do so again, but now he realized the truth. Humanity had expected this attack. They had lured the Titan fleet into a carefully planned ambush. The Butcher's final move. A transmission came through. The screen flickered, and there he was, General Elias Kane, his cold, ruthless eyes staring directly at Zalrex. "You should have run while you had the chance," Kane said. Then, Earth's hidden orbital cannons activated. A storm of supercharged railgun slugs, each traveling at near light speed, tore through the remains of the Titan fleet. Ships the size of cities were reduced to flaming debris in seconds. As the Dominator was consumed by fire, Zalrex's last thought was one of regret. They had not just started a war. They had provoked extinction. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They were an alliance of ancient and powerful alien empires, each controlling vast regions of space. To them, Earth was nothing more than a primitive world, backward, undeveloped, and unworthy of respect. The Council believed humanity would surrender the moment they saw the power of the Galactic Armada. They were wrong. When the Council sent its first messenger to Earth, they expected obedience. The alien diplomat, a Xelarian named Vorthek, stood before the United Nations and spoke with arrogance. "Your species will submit to the Galactic Council," he declared. "You will follow our laws, pay tribute, and become part of our order. If you refuse, you will be destroyed." The leaders of Earth did not even take a day to respond. The answer was simple: no. Vorthek was stunned. He tried to warn them. "You do not understand. We have weapons that can destroy planets. Our fleets can erase your armies in seconds. If you fight, you will be crushed." The President of Earth leaned forward, eyes cold. "Then come and try." The Council was furious. They could not allow such defiance. Humanity had to be made an example. They sent a fleet of 100 warships to the Sol system. Their mission was clear: attack Mars first, then move to Earth. The invasion fleet was led by High Commander Zalrex, a ruthless tactician. He expected an easy victory. As the fleet approached Mars, Zalrex looked at the planet with amusement. "Primitive fools," he muttered. "They don't even have planetary shields." He ordered his ships to begin the attack. Massive plasma cannons fired towards the red planet, expecting no resistance. Then the unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, missiles launched from the Martian surface, striking the leading ships. Some exploded instantly, while others lost control and crashed into each other. The aliens were confused. How did humans develop weapons powerful enough to break through their defenses? Before they could react, human fighters swarmed the battlefield. These were not like the slow, bulky ships of other species. They were fast, unpredictable, and piloted by soldiers willing to take insane risks. Human pilots weaved through enemy fire, dodging plasma blasts by mere inches. They didn't just rely on their ship's technology. They used instinct, something the Council's eye-driven fleets couldn't match. On the ground, human soldiers fought with terrifying efficiency. They set traps, used hit-and-run tactics, and even engaged in brutal melee combat when needed. The aliens had never seen anything like it. They were used to orderly wars, fought by rules and strategy. But humans, they fought to win. Within hours, the Council's fleet was in chaos. Their forces, expecting an easy conquest, were being slaughtered. High Commander Zalrex watched in horror as his once mighty fleet was torn apart by a species they had considered weak. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council realized a terrible truth. They had underestimated humanity. The news of Mars' victory spread across Earth like wildfire. The people cheered, but the war was far from over. The Galactic Council had suffered a humiliating defeat, but humanity knew they would return, this time with even greater force. The leaders of Earth gathered in a secret underground base. Military commanders, scientists, and world leaders sat around a massive holographic map of the galaxy. President Alexander Graves looked at his advisors with a grim expression. "They will come back," he said. "Stronger, angrier. If we wait for them, we will lose. We must strike first." General Elias Kane, the hero of the Martian defense, stood up. His voice was cold and steady. "I agree. They think we are weak, so they underestimate us. We must show them what humanity is truly capable of." A plan was formed. Instead of waiting for another invasion, Earth would take the war to the Galactic Council. Small but deadly human strike teams would infiltrate enemy territory, sabotage supply lines, and disrupt communication networks. Stealth fleets would attack key Council strongholds, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. It was a dangerous strategy, but humans were experts in asymmetrical warfare. The Council fought like a hammer, crushing everything in its path. Humanity would fight like a knife in the dark. Days later, the first Earthborn reprisal began. Deep in the Orion sector, the Galactic Council's supply station, Teleris Prime, was bustling with activity. Massive cargo ships carried fuel and weapons to the front lines. Alien workers moved around, unaware of the danger that lurked among them. Hidden in the shadows, human operatives moved silently. Dressed in advanced stealth suits, they blended into the environment, their heat signatures invisible to scanners. Commander Riley Shaw, a former Special Forces operative, gave the signal. The attack began. Explosions ripped through the supply station. Fire and smoke filled the air as humans emerged from the shadows, their weapons tearing through alien soldiers. The Council's security forces tried to fight back, but the humans were too fast, too precise. In the chaos, human hackers infiltrated the station's main computer, sending a virus into the Council's network. Within minutes, communication across the entire sector was in disarray. Ships received false orders, defenses shut down, and entire fleets became lost in hyperspace. By the time reinforcements arrived, it was too late. The station was destroyed, its wreckage floating in space. The humans were gone, leaving only a single message behind. This is only the beginning. Across the galaxy, similar attacks took place. Council bases exploded, warships disappeared, and entire planets fell into panic. The mighty Galactic Council, which had never feared anyone, was now afraid. For the first time in history, an enemy had struck them where they felt safest, and they were only beginning to understand the true horror of humanity's wrath. High Commander Zalrex could not believe his eyes. His fleet, the pride of the Galactic Council, was burning. Explosions tore through the sky above Mars as human missiles and fighters ripped through the alien warships. The Council had expected an easy conquest, but now they were the ones being hunted. Zalrex slammed his fist on the control panel. "How is this possible?" he roared. "These humans should not have weapons this strong." His officers had no answer. The enemy's tactics were chaotic, unpredictable. Human pilots flew their ships like madmen, dodging plasma fire by mere inches, taking impossible risks. Their missiles were not like standard alien torpedoes. They were fast, smart, and designed to bypass shields. On the surface of Mars, things were even worse. The Galactic Council had sent thousands of elite soldiers, expecting to wipe out the human colonies in hours. Instead, they walked into a nightmare. The moment the aliens landed, they were attacked from all sides. Human soldiers did not fight like other species. They used the environment, setting traps in the red dust, hiding in underground tunnels and ambushing their enemies in the ruins of old colonies. Every street, every crater, every abandoned building became a battlefield. A Xilarian warrior squad entered an empty human outpost, scanning for survivors. Suddenly, explosions erupted from the walls. Hidden bombs. The aliens screamed as fire consumed them. Before the dust settled, human soldiers in advanced exosuits charged in, their rifles spitting fire. The aliens, trained in clean, organized warfare, panicked in the chaos. A young Martian colonist, Mirahan, watched the battle from her sniper position. She had lived on Mars her entire life, mining in the harsh deserts. Now she was fighting for her home. She took a deep breath, aimed, and pulled the trigger. An alien officer fell, his body hitting the red sand. Nearby, a group of human soldiers led by Captain Adrian Cole fought hand-to-hand against the enemy. The aliens, twice the size of humans, thought they would win easily. But the humans were brutal. They used knives, fists, even their helmets as weapons. One soldier grabbed an alien's mandibles and twisted. There was a sickening crunch. The aliens had expected honor in battle. Instead, they got raw, savage warfare. Above Mars, Zalrex received another report. His landing zones were overrun. His soldiers were being slaughtered. His warships were falling one by one. He clenched his fists. This was not war. This was a massacre. A desperate thought entered his mind. "Retreat," he whispered. "We must retreat." His officers stared at him in shock. The Galactic Council never retreated. They were the most powerful force in the galaxy. But Zalrex had no choice. If they stayed, they would all die. As the remaining alien ships turned and fled, a single human transmission was broadcast across the system. The war was over. Tarkus V, once the grand capital of the Galactic Council, was now a city of fire and ash. The great towers that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to ruins. The Council's armies were gone, their fleets destroyed, their leaders executed. Humanity had won. But the war had changed them. No more enemies, only subjects. General Elias Kane stood on the balcony of the former Council Palace, now the command center of humanity's new empire. He looked down at the streets, where the last survivors of the Council's people cowered in fear. Once, these aliens had ruled over humanity, treating Earth like an unimportant backwater world. Now, they were prisoners in their own home. A soldier approached. "Sir, what are your orders?" Kane took a deep breath. The war was done, but now came the hardest part, deciding what came next. Would humanity wipe them out completely? Would they let them live as slaves? Or would they rule with strict but fair control? He turned to his officers. "Broadcast my message across the galaxy." The message to the stars. All across the former Council worlds, screens flickered to life. The image of General Kane appeared, his expression unreadable. "The war is over," he said. "The Galactic Council is no more. The old rulers have fallen. The galaxy now belongs to humanity." He paused before speaking his next words carefully. "We do not seek destruction, but we will not allow resistance. You have two choices: submit and serve, or be erased." Every species in the galaxy heard his words. Some accepted their fate, bowing before their new human rulers. Others, foolish enough to resist, vanished within days. Kane had no mercy left. The Council had tried to enslave humanity, and now humanity would never be weak again. A galaxy rebuilt. Under human rule, everything changed. The old laws of the Council were erased. New cities were built, but they were no longer alien cities. They were human cities. The once powerful races of the Council were now workers, servants, and soldiers, all under the iron fist of their new masters. Earth, once ignored by the galaxy, became the center of a new empire. But some humans wondered, had they become the very thing they once hated? The Council had ruled with arrogance. Now, humanity did the same. The galaxy had feared the Council. Now, They feared humanity even more. And deep in the void, whispers of rebellion began to grow. Cain knew this was not the end. The war for power had only just begun.